I used to feel like when I immediately walked inside of a room that I would be a different version of myself. It's crazy, right? Like I couldn't accept to just be myself, just be, this is Jin, this is who I am, these are my values, this is how I feel. I couldn't express that. I was just a different version. I was a shadow, I was a ghost. I had this friendship group of Tamil people, Sri Lankan Tamil people in my small city that I'm born at, right? Like born in. And I was so traumatized, because in my childhood, my dad used to just shut me down, and also had like some other family members who was like, don't hang out with other people, just hang out with these guys, the Sri Lankan guys, like you have those guys as your friends, you don't need to hang out and mix with other people, there'll be this, unless they were Danish, Again, the positive intention were that my parents, my friends, my families, to try to protect me, but they didn't know that I didn't vibe, I was just not myself, I was a little bit more myself when I was with the friends that I really cared about, I was more myself, but still, it was just not me, I had this mask glued to my face. It's crazy, like even in my school, in primary school, I was more myself, a little bit more myself, but I still had this mask, I couldn't, like the majority of my years, I was just not myself, I was this other feeling, because again, like the main problem was that I was not safe, I didn't feel safe. That was one of the maybe the main problem, right? Like, I guess it was that main problem. Like I was just afraid that I'll be rejected again, because that is what happened. That was the feeling that I had when I was in my childhood, like I felt like my parents, they just were, for example, I felt for many years that my mother really didn't like me, So she was just like not liking me for whatever reason it was, So yeah, so that was extremely painful, So imagine like you're going out there in these different kind of social settings, and you're like, okay, I'm not gonna say anything, I'm just gonna adapt. I'm gonna just agree with whatever people have to say, like, because again, you're afraid to be rejected, but also humiliated, right? Embarrassed, because that's also happened a lot in my childhood. That's crazy, right? Like, that I couldn't feel safe around people, like, for example, and I had to have this mask on, like always, like, again, agree with people, agree to this and that, and always like, pretend, just being pretend, like, or trying to feel I'm in a funny mode, like laughing, even though it's not really that fun, just to kind of fit in, I don't know, like, for example, I had, again, this Sri Lankan group of friends, right? We used to drink a lot together, and for example, we had one thing that we used to do is like, basically, we would meet every other weekend, and then one of us would have a place where we can meet at, and then we had to bring a bottle of whiskey, like hard liquor, or vodka, whatever, right? And then we just have to start drinking, And I remember at one point that they also put some Tamil Sri Lankan music, Tamil music on, right? And then we will just dance around, to these, they call it kuttu paatugal, like with kuttu songs, whatever, right? And then we'll dance around these bottles of hard liquor, right? And I was like forcing myself, just to dance around these, hard liquor bottles, right? Even though deep inside I was like, what is it that I'm doing? I don't even like this. Like, I don't even like the music. This is really not me. And eventually I also figure out that I don't even like the liquor itself, right? Maybe I like whiskey, but then that's it, but the whole ordeal about meeting up with one bottle of, hard liquor and then drinking that and gain status and dancing around, you're just there with these guys, there's nothing like, that's it. And then you eat shit food, fast food, and maybe you go out in the nightlife, and then nothing really happens. Like it's just you and your guys dancing around. Okay, it was fun to some extent, but I couldn't. The thing is, I couldn't really like, I had to pretend to be confident. I had to pretend like it's fun. I had this big mask on. So basically, like, okay, you are physically with people, right? But then you might ask yourself mentally, okay, what is it that am I coming across? Like, wow, was that weird? You have that feeling of like, was that weird, the thing I just did there? Like, maybe it would put me lower in the hierarchy, because there was this hierarchy kind of status there with these Sri Lankan people, right? These Sri Lankan Tamil friends that I had, right? And you ask yourself, whoa, did they like what I did there? Like you have, it's like, and those are the questions that arises when you are having this mask on all the fucking time, It's very sad, it's not, you're not really connected, like you're not connected to anything, you just, I don't know what you are, you're just like a burnt potato. I don't know. It's just like a very, very sad place to be, And again, why? Like, why did I do it? Like, why do people do it? From my own experience, like being in this state where you have this mask on, you don't really want to say anything. You're just extremely shy. It's like you don't want to embarrass yourself. You don't want to, for example, me, one thing that I did a lot was I loved to read, but I cannot bring that in and like, hey, I love, talking about the books, like my books and the stories there, because maybe they would, humiliate me. Maybe they would not like me. Maybe they would not like this gin, and I was really not like that. I was just like in apathy, like in a lot of time. I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't, but I had some things that I desired, like, but maybe, for example, I really love to play video games. I spent hours and hours and hours playing video games, but it was hard for me to transist that maybe that was too boring for these guys, right? Or I also remembered that I like to just make videos actually. Like I love to make these videos where I film and we just rewatching the video. Then I felt extreme joy, right? But I couldn't. It was like all that was just locked down. I couldn't execute on that anymore. Or just meet and play soccer, football. Just do something chill. But I couldn't do it with this big group of friends, right? But also like in other kind of settings, like when you're in your class, when I was in my classroom, I was like still very shy, it's like, you don't want to say something to upset people, go against the current, right? Because when I used to do that back home, I would just get a slap, like I will just get humiliated, shut down, that's why I just felt like, okay, let me just agree, then I will not get shut down, and also people start to like me and stuff like that, right? I couldn't go against the current, right? So again, like you start to adapt, and and the cost is what is the cost in all this? The cost is that when you do it from a young age, as I did, and in any kind of setting, and you're just putting this mask on, is that you are neglecting who you really are, how can I put it? You're not enjoying, you're just neglecting and missing out on you being yourself, and and even find better connections, because when you are yourself and you really put yourself, like you just execute on your own values, your own morals, you will attract, like the bad people, unquote, will go away. The people who doesn't really fit you, the people who doesn't really agree with your values, they will automatically go away, and then other people will come into your life. So that's also what happened to me, when I grew up, and when I came into retreats, this like the whole world of psychology, shadow work, breath work, all the goodies, like in life, when it comes to inner work, like really like reprogram myself. Then I also started to let go of the people. So the people that I used to hang out with, where we just end up drinking and stuff, right? It was like I could just like put a foot down and like, hey, I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna drink, and I'm finished with all that stuff, like drinking and staying up at late and, not really have a purpose, like I'm finished, man. I'm done. That is, I love my mornings, and nightclubs, forget about it. It's in the night, I'm like, I want to sleep, like I don't, but then if you end up going anyways, people are, okay, you can have a good night out, but it's like a trade-off, right? Okay, I like and love nightclubs, actually, like the environment, right? I like it, right? In to an extent. Then it has to be like, let's say that I'm somewhere, I don't know, like let's say somewhere exotic, like Zanzibar, right? They have full moon party, right? Okay, okay, let's go, because it's a new place, interesting place, right? I also read a report about someone had a blast in El Salvador. Okay, let's go, Of course, safety measures, right? But you understand my point, right? Like, if I'm somewhere in Europe, in Bulgaria, Sofia, okay, let's go. Cancun, okay, let's go. I would love to go. But again, like the cost is, when you come to the cost, is that people can only connect with the person that you allow them to meet. That is the key line here, because the other thing is just bullshit, So that's why, like, even though you're with people, like with me, I was with the Sri Lankan people, I guess this inner child within me still kind of felt alone, But again, like, for example, in my high school, I was still around with these people, as I remember, right? But I still felt so alone. I could still feel this sadness, kind of creeping up on me, and it was a really a sad time for me, in the high school. It was not the best years of my life. And then later on, I moved, that I basically just said goodbye to a lot of them, I realized I cannot pretend anymore, I just, and they also started to just invite me less and less and less, right? But then I had some encounters with other people, but still it felt like, it still felt like that I was not there, I could not be real, So especially with these old Sri Lankan Tamil friendship group that I used to hang out with, right? But now it's just so different, This is what I call the shift, So many young people, they might experience this, like where they're like, okay, that they're hurt, the pain is so much, that it's too hard to carry, You're like, wow, okay, because then you start to be yourself, and then a lot of people kind of like just go their own way. They don't take you in, and then you're like, wow, okay, it can't be true, like, so instead of like, it comes from like, how do I make everybody like me? It's like, how do I stay connected to myself while I am with other people, like, how do I stay grounded, that is the core lesson, right? How do we get there, that is the core. And okay, for me again, I went to a lot of therapy, I went to a lot of retreats, I went to a lot of, reading a lot of books, podcasts, applying all the meditation techniques, like the shadow, the visualization techniques, the breath work, talking with people, joining a community, get to know a lot of people in this community, find my tribe, and as soon as I found my tribe, I was so blessed by the angels in heaven, that I found my tribe. I found people that I could with, I started to learn the art of letting go. It was much easier, right? It's even now, right now, I just travel just by myself, and I make friends like this. It's very easy. And if I don't make friends, like let's say, for example, Budapest, for example, that was it's not an easy place for me to make friends, but still I made like 1 or 2 friends, right? Yeah, I actually made some friends, yeah, even though it's not that an easiest place in Athens, I guess. Yeah, Athens was really, but even there I made a couple of friends. It was hard, you know. So I still kind of find my way around, right? That in Athens I was, for example, alone for longer, the majority of time. But I started to just like accept it. You know, say, okay, it's fine, it's cool. I don't care. You know, I'm connected, and that is what I want to teach people. Like, you are connected. You know, I'm gonna mention this in all my videos. Like, imagine you can just connect with everything, connect with everybody, every piece of you, every version of you, in all kind of, you know, ways, in all kind of plans, and you can just, and you really tap into that. You are that man on the street there. You know, you are that child. You are everything. You are every item. You are the nature. You are the force. You are everything. You just operate from a crazy high level where you don't not really chasing anymore, right? You okay, if you want to talk to someone, you can talk freely without really feeling that you have talked to someone because you just or lost something or whatever, right? That nothing really more happened because everything is happening right now. Like, the thing you desired from talking to this person is already happening, right? That level of awareness, that level of state, that is where we want to be, right? So anyways, going back to the more digestible parts, right? Around, because maybe you also feel like this way, you know, maybe you are a professional, working professional, and you, every time you go to an event, you also feel like you're disconnected, you know, that you are just trying to fit in. You have a mask on and you're just trying to fit in, right? Or you go to for example, when I started out socializing, right, when I was in lack, I was in scarcity, I started in Denmark, and then after that, because in Denmark it was a nightlife, and because it was a little bit easier, especially in Scandinavian countries, a little bit easier to go out in the night. But if you're not a night person like me, then you can meet people. For me, like in the daytime, for me it was community. I found an online community, and then I met 2-3 people there, and they introduced me to some new ones, and then I was on this roller coaster, right? Yeah, like, and you can start to be yourself. So if people reject you, they go away from you, okay, it's nice, right? One tiny example again around that I had a female friend, like a really nice female friend, you know, super caring and just sweet, you know, really sweet, very generous. And she was dating a guy who was one of my closer friends, right? And then when they broke up, I was like, okay, I can just still stay friends with her, you know. She was like a big sister for me, you know, so older than me. But then when I tried to like contact her and stuff like that, she was like, no, no Jin, we cannot stay contacted. And my system just froze there, right? I was like, man, like why? You know, she was one of my few friends back then, you know. And then she's like, no, we can't. I guess we just grow apart. We just grow apart from each other, you know. I was like, at that time I didn't know any of this breath work, inner work, shadow works. I didn't know how to kind of proceed. So I just let myself move on, you know, and just let time heal that wound, right? It's crazy, you know. So again, like, how can you, so there are some ways that you can basically execute this, right? Like, let's say that you are in a spot, as I mentioned before, you have this Sri Lankan Tamil kind of group where you feel like you're just passive, right? Then one way is that you just express what you want. And it can even be minor things. So instead of like when people are just, let's say this group is going out and you're like, and they're asking out to everyone, okay, where do we want to eat? You know, where should we eat? So instead of like, I don't mind, again, being passive, right? And then following the herd. You're not a sheep, right? Don't be a sheep. Instead of that, you're just basically giving out, expressing what you really want to express, right? Like, okay, I want to eat some healthy food, you know. Let's eat some whatever, right? And then another one, the second thing you can do is basically like allow one disagreement, you know. So it can be that for example, again, like I had a friend over this weekend, right? And then he was like, oh, he want to watch horror movies and stuff. And then I was like, let's connect on a deeper level, you know. Like, I don't want to get to know you more, you know. What are you feeling? Like, let me get to know you more, brother. You know, like, because he's someone that I've known for like a handful of years, 6, 7, I don't know how many years, you know, maybe 5 years. And then we never really connected on a deeper level, you know. It's the first time he's visiting my city, and then I was like, come on, bro, like, let me get to know you. You have a lot of things in your head, you know, like, I don't want to watch horror. I don't watch horror movies, right? It's not good for me. I don't like it, you know. I think it's one of the things that I kind of got told, you know, like from the heaven, like, it's crazy, like, nah, I don't want to watch that, you know. I'm too sensitive. I don't like it. I don't like true crime. I don't like all these blood movies, whatever, right? And then horror movies, no. And also, like, I told him, like, hey, I'm having you over, let's talk, you know. I'm not having you over, like, every single, like, this is the first time I'm, like, you visiting where I'm at. Let's fucking connect, man. Instead of watching a movie, you know, like, come on. You know, so that was, like, a bigger disagreement, because I was like, I don't give a fuck, you know, like, I accept whatever happened. I just want to stay true to myself, like, express how I feel. I wanted to do that to this guy, you know. So that's another way. So number one is basically that you express a preference when somebody is asking something, or you are going for a trip, whatever, right? Express a preference that you have. Number two is that you express a disagreement, you know, like you execute or you allow a small disagreement, as I did with the horror movie, you know. And then also another thing is, like, you express how you are feeling, you know, or express how you're feeling, you know, like, or you're more a reality where you can be just 5 to 10% more real, you know. What can that be? Let me come up with an example there. For example, I was breaking up with someone earlier this year, and then I expressed to her, like, hey, I'm a little bit disappointed, actually, you know, like, that you don't get it, that you have this way, you have this value set, you know. I'm a little bit disappointed and also sad. I'm also sad, you know, like, we have to let go, but it is what it is, you know, like, I choose myself, this is my values, this is how I see things, you know. So yeah. So moving ahead, right? Like, it's also around, like, you know, just when you have the gift of feeling things, you know, because it's not easy to let people go. It's not easy to break up. It's not easy to be yourself, right? And then you see all these guys just moving around, and they reject you, and you have to reject them and stuff like that, right? Like, for example, when I was, again, the example with the breakup, you know, I was like, I really wanted this girl to just, you know, to be aligned, you know, like, I really thought I met her, you know, and then I get to know her more and more and more, and they're like, no, we just there's too much distance, you know. And I really tried, you know, I'm like, okay, can we close the gap? Really asked myself so many times, went through therapy or mentoring. And I had the feelings of coming up of anxiety, you know, and I just wanted to, like, to neglect them, you know, and, like, you know, like, okay, maybe I should just continue and then ignore my feelings, you know. But then I had one friend, he told me, like, fucking do this, man, like, you have to go through this, like, don't be a pussy, you know, like, like, okay, you know, like, so when a feeling comes up, you know, just be in it. For example, me, like, be in the anxiety. And I did a lot of, like, therapy, meditation constantly, you know, just to release. And then I had the courage to, because then I knew, okay, what's up? I had a clear mind. I was not operating from a very, very weak level. I was a bit weak because it's natural, right? But I had the courage, the strength to save the future version of myself, you know, because I was seeing, like, if I did this, if I just, you know, went through with this, how would the how would the future Jin feel? Would it be justifiable for the future Jin? I was like, no, you know, like I don't feel good about this. Okay, I might as well just execute on how I feel. And I've done what I could, you know, and ask about her value sets, moral and everything. It's just too different, you know. And I cannot force her to change, you know, like it has to come from within. So it's a long video, you know, it's one of the longer videos that I've made, you know. Again, like, you know, it's just that at the end of the day, it's just about like, you know, accepting who we are, you know, like tap in to how we feel. And that is what I'm doing now, you know, even now, you know, 2026, I have my best friends, I have everything. I've experienced so much in my life when it comes to socializing and stuff, you know. There's still something, but now I'm in just work mode, you know, like I'm monk mode, work mode, and I still socialize, right? But I'm just more locked in and keyed in than ever before in my life, you know. Like I really want to help people around oneness, spirituality, meditation, but especially around like loneliness, you know, because I see that's a big problem and people are so disconnected. Like help people to just connect with everything, you know, and tap into oneness and release and figure out that every time something happens, you're not in lack, you have everything, you know, you have everything that you need. You're one, you are all the people that you want to talk with. You are all the things that you desire. You already have them, right? You're born rich. Right? So it's like, like even for me, you know, like, but this is what I want to teach people, you know. So again, like it's about embracing the true self, you know. It's an absolute gift, you know, when you can figure out how you're feeling, you know. It's an absolute gift because I came from a place where I was in apathy. I couldn't feel anything, you know. It really had to be extremely traumatic before I could feel it. And then also the goal is also like, it's not really about making everybody like you, you know, like, okay, there'll always be people who won't really like you. I just ended a trip in Africa, and Africans are one of the most open people, but even there I met people who didn't like me, you know. I had to like execute my own values and thoughts and like, this is who I am. I had to reject a lot of people there too, you know, because they wanted me to be their puppet. I'm not their puppet, you know, like I am a human, you know, I'm Jin, I have my own ways, you know, to go through life, my own ways to operate, you know. I can say no, right? So again, finally, the prime purpose, I'll put it, is to never ever abandon who you are in order to be accepted. Never ever do that. You're already accepted. You are already everything, you know. And when you tap into that hey, you are already everything, oneness, you are connected, that is where the real transformation begins. That's it.